I came here with a quest for vengeance. For years, I have sulked in cowardice, but the time is finally upon me. I come to slay Shah Ismail, the bane of my existence. These decrepit streets are the last place that I ever expected to find him. But underneath that unkempt beard and blasphemous stench, I know those eyes anywhere. If I were to finish the deed here and now, I could finally enjoy a night of peace. Yet as he sits there stone-faced, my head now races with questions. Why does he not recognize me, the sister of his former confidant? How much longer can he hurt what remains of my pride? I must know. Vengeance is a feeling that Ismail knows as well as I. His father was the Grand Master of the Safavid Order, a group of so-called radicals who for generations had promised salvation to a Persia still reeling from Tamerlane's invasion. Back then, these lands were ruled by a federation of tribes called the Ak-Koyunlu. Some of us Turkomans constituted their ruling elite, but others, such as myself and my brother, suffered under their reign, and we were eager to liberate ourselves from their watchful eyes. Together with their ally Faruk Yassar of Shirvan, the Ak-Koyunlu had tried to destroy the Safavids for years. When they killed the infant Ismail's father in battle and locked the boy away, it seemed as though they had finally succeeded. Yet the order survived, and after years of private training, the now 12-year-old Ismail set out to seek his revenge. His first priority was to slay Faruk Yassar and avenge the father that he never knew. It breaks my heart to think that I once swore loyalty to this haggard. Yet there was a time that Ismail was the epitome of a valiant leader. I still remember the first time that we met him. My tribe was among the lucky few in Anatolia that he personally invited to ride with him to Erzincan. For weeks, my brother would not stop talking about this captivating, fearless youth. Once we arrived in Erzincan, he told us that Allah had commanded him to free us from the tribal life of generational bickering that we were all too used to. Such claims were not uncommon, but his intense conviction, firm as the blade of his shamshir, made us certain that he spoke the truth. He dubbed his soldiers the Kizilbash, the red hats for the 12 pleated garments that they were to adorn themselves with in battle. Embarrassed as I am to admit it, I still keep my brothers as a reminder of our youth and of all the possibilities that it once promised. Strong-willed though Ismail was, he was also uncommonly generous. No sooner had his troops sacked Shirvan than he distributed the plunder among them. They were the only true family that he ever had, and he knew how to make everyone feel important to the cause. Looking back, I should have known all along how paranoid this boy truly was. I have fixated on Ismail's leftover kebab this whole time, which he seems to have picked up on. I am skeptical of his generosity, but with all of my lingering questions, I will be needing all of the energy that I can get. Despite the fall of Shirvan, the Ak-Koyunlu were only battered, not broken. Panicked by Ismail's swift rise, they assembled their forces near the village of Sharur, a place of strategic importance between his camps in the southern Caucasus and their capital of Tabriz. Although Ismail was horrifyingly outnumbered, the promise of battle lit a fire in him which spread to his men. They laid their lives at his disposal, for they knew that their leader was also ready to confront whatever fears they had. As Khanais announced Ismail's arrival in Tabriz, the charismatic boy emerged Shah of Persia. The Safavid Order was now the Safavid Empire. As Ismail's army entered the Grand Palace, nays and tombaks sounded in revelry of their victory as they beheld the wonders of their new capital. Yet as I watched the procession, I worriedly noticed my brother's absence. I knew he would never have missed the chance to celebrate such a victorious, joyful moment. Fearing the worst, I left and scoured the battlefield. After hours of frantic searching, I found my brother lying among a host of slain Akkoyunlu, the moonlight illuminating his lifeless face. My heart shattered as my pained cry pierced the air. I thought that I had calloused myself to these wounds, but the truth resurfaces like a knife as I unearth these suppressed memories. How I long to drive that knife into Ismail. When I finished my meal, I noticed a scrap of parchment which the Shah had dropped on the floor. One of his old poems. I am the Alexander of my contemporaries, the words of the younger Ismail declared. However much I have tried to suppress the words inked on this greasy note, they remain etched into my heart. Perhaps it was just the Greek blood from his mother's side of the family, but from the very beginning, the self-proclaimed Alexander of the Safavids coveted all of Persia, and he was determined to conquer it at the point of a sword. Having secured his new capital, this ambition now seemed within reach. Crippled though they were by their defeat, the Akkoyunlu were still not content to surrender peacefully. Indeed, after the loss of Tabriz, they were now fighting for their very survival. Ismail, naturally, was thrilled to put his abilities to the ultimate test. 20 steadfast Safavids, he declared, would overcome 200 Akkoyunlu. For all of the endless triumphs that Ismail recounts to me, those days will always be tainted by melancholy. By the time that the Akkoyunlu met their demise, any semblance of family within the Kizilbash was lost. Their days were now spent quelling uprisings of ever-increasing frequency, usually without Ismail's direct supervision. One evening, during one of Ismail's many feasts, I raised my cup in memory of my brother. Instead of honoring his fallen comrade, Ismail ignored me and yelled boisterously at his musicians to play another song. Was this truly the incorruptible figure that my brother had given his life to serve? The carousing, apathetic stranger in that hall bore no resemblance to the benevolent soul that my brother had once adored. That was when it finally dawned on me that Ismail, the divine Shah, and Alexander of the Safavids, was just as fallible as any of us. Hearing the Shah tell of those days, I feel the same wounds puncture my heart once more. Not once has he mentioned my brother's name or his daring feats. If not for my curiosity, I would have silenced this wretched man hours ago. But the details that I crave the most are yet to come. One day, a visitor arrived from the east seeking aid and shelter. His master was the Timurid leader, Babur, who hoped to reclaim his homeland of Transoxiana from the rapacious Uzbek warlord, Shaybani Khan. As Babur and Ismail both were avid lovers of poetry, the Timurid was confident that our Shah would happily answer the call. Yet for all of their similarities, Ismail loathed the thought of being compared to this mortal, as he described him. In accepting Babur's request for an alliance, Ismail hoped not for an enduring partnership, but an opportunity to supplant the Uzbeks from the historic Persian region of Khorasan, from which they had been launching raids against his new holdings. Khorasan rightfully belonged to the Timurids, but its links to the Silk Road trade made it one of the wealthiest regions in the world. Ancient shahs such as Cyrus and Yazdegerd had thriven off of its riches, and as uprisings became increasingly common throughout Persia, Ismail believed that this territory was the key to protecting his throne. Although they swore to fulfill the Shah's wishes, there was an unspoken consensus among the Qizilbash that Ismail was overextending himself. Deep inside, they knew that they were headed for a breaking point. Like a lion complacent to its privilege, power can corrupt even the savviest of leaders. Ismail's misadventures in Central Asia made the Qizilbash keenly aware of how power had changed him. Consumed by his tireless vanity, his soft words of wisdom were now replaced by fits of rage. As old tribal feuds began to re-emerge, only the fear of retribution still held their loyalty intact. Questioning Ismail about what happened at Gazdevan, he blames his unruly commander for not keeping his subordinates in check. Yet, as much as he denies it by his tongue, his stubborn temper reveals everything to me. Deep inside, I think he knows that Babur surpassed him in many ways. That chronic underdog never took his victories for granted. Even as the Fergana Valley was lost to him forever, he remained steadfast as he crossed the Hindu Kush to start anew. This type of resilience always eluded Ismail, who never accepted that he was capable of making mistakes. Whether or not the Qizilbash were ready to admit it, they secretly wished that he would learn to value this lesson. Then one day, their hopes finally came true, and in the most horrific way possible. Knowing where this story is inevitably headed, I find myself tensing with dread. For this is where the Alexander of the Safavids was knocked from his pedestal, a fall that has led him here, to these desolate outskirts of his capital. Ismail's demise began not in Persia, but in the ever-growing Ottoman Empire. A man named Shah Kulu attempted a coup against the ruling dynasty, much like Ismail had rallied his own followers to depose the Ak-Koyunlu. Although Shah Kulu's uprising proved unsuccessful, it was clear now to the Ottomans that Ismail's sway over their Turkoman subjects was no longer possible to ignore. A year later, Selim the Grim ascended to the Turkish throne, the victor of a strenuous civil war. In an act befitting his name, the new sultan rounded up 40,000 Safavid sympathizers and had them all executed. Blaming Ismail for infecting the minds of his rightful subordinates, he sent scathing letters his way. Still convinced of his own immortality, Ismail failed to take Selim's threat seriously, even pitying this unknown adversary. To him, this mysterious detractor was just like all others, foolish enough to incur his wrath. This conflict culminated in the two leaders gathering at the plains of Chaldiran, not far from the Safavid capital. What happened next, I am loath to mention, but I can already see the anguish dawning over Ismail's face as he opens his lips. Thousands of men lost their lives that day, but the greatest casualty in Ismail's mind was his image as an immortal ruler, which had been forever shattered. Gradually succumbing to doubts and darker thoughts, he would never be the same. Yet for the first time since I found him here, this wretched man sounds sincere, as if he has reverted to his younger self. I now feel a tingling of pity for the man that I had once admired. However wrongly he has treated his devoted followers, I cannot deny his greatness. From an early age, he overcame hardship, impossible expectations, and his own pride to forge the mightiest Persian dynasty in over a millennium. Ever since Ismail's fall 10 years ago, I have anxiously dreamt of vengeance in my fallen brother's name. Yet as I reflect upon everything, the thought now almost cripples me. Weak though my heart grows, I have let Ismail govern my emotions for too long. Now, I am the master of my fate.